Season 2 of Dr. Stone begins with Jen sitting with a group of kids telling them how a green light appeared and humanity became a stone world and Senku's adventure in the stone world. Jen shifted the conversation to Senku, who shrugged him, ordering him to focus on his work. An unfocused Jen asks Senku about how he plans to make a move on Tsukasa. Senku tells them of his new super item known as space food. The village, filled with excitement, asks more about the space food. Senku explains to them how this new invention will give them a 10,000% advantage in the battle. The excited villagers start to work on the space food. Some work on making ramen, while the maker team, Krone and Kaseki, are building a machine to power up the ramen to space ramen. Senku ordered them to freeze and lighten the ramen using the machine made by the maker team. After achieving the freeze-dried food, everyone tries it out, including Senku, who starts having flashbacks of him and his dad eating ramen. At night, Jen approaches Senku with his sketchy plans to break Tsukasa's empire apart. The plan is to deliver the phone to Taiju and Yuzuriha and have them let Tsukasa's army hear it and play Lillian's songs. In doing so, Jen will trick them by mimicking Lillian's voice, telling them she is calling from America and the world hasn't yet collapsed. An eavesdropping Krone joins the meeting and volunteers to carry out the plan secretly without the villagers knowing. Magma, Chrome, and Jen journey to Tsukasa's empire to carry out the plan. Senku uses explosives to distract Honora as she comes out to check what is going on. Kohaku appears and starts chasing her, but she isn't able to catch up to her as Homura is too fast. Senku also tries to stop her with a flare, but their efforts are futile. Homura eventually figures that it is a decoy and that Magma and Chrome are missing, with Jen probably leading them to Tsukasa's empire, so she moves as fast as she can to catch up with them. Senku and his crew also try to follow. It is now a three-horse race as Magma, Chrome, and Jen are trying to get to Tsukasa's empire before Homura catches up with them. Meanwhile, Homura is trying to get to them before they reach Tsukasa's empire, and lastly, Senku and the villagers are trying to chase after Homura in order to capture her. Jen notices that Homura has caught up with them and is spying, so he discreetly notifies Senku with a cell phone. Homura fell for their trap and she is captured by Kohaku, allowing Jen and the others to continue their journey. They arrive at Tsukasa's base and bury the cell phone under the fake grave made for Senku, with Senku back at the village hoping Taiju finds it. The following morning, Taiju and Yuzuriha go to the grave. Taiju digs out the cell phone, and back at the village, the phone rings and a furious Sugo is hoping it wasn't one of Tsuka's men. Senku. In tears, Taiju yells out over the phone, "I miss this all so much I could cry," Senku replies. The villagers are glad to hear Taiju's voice as they have only heard of him from Senku. Meanwhile, a lady whom Tsukasa appoints to watch over Taiju and Yuzuriha is spying on them from behind. Senku tells Taiju to get anyone from Tsukasa's empire and bring him over to the cell phone. He also tells him it is better he doesn't know about the plan. Meanwhile, Jen and his team are getting chased by Yukio-chan, one of Tsukasa's men with insane hearing ability. Magma and Chrome decide to lure Yukio to themselves so Jen can escape and make it back to the village in order to begin the plan. Jen makes it back to the village just in time, panting and looking very tired. Taiju and Yuzuriha walk over to Nikki-san, the lady watching over them. They manage to convince her to listen to the cell phone. Jen begins to mimic Lillian's voice over the phone, but Nikki figures out it isn't Lillian's voice, as she was her superfan before the Stone World. Senku decides to play the music recording, which melts Nikki's heart. Senku offers her a deal. He protects the recording tape of Lillian's music for her, and she brings Tsukasa's army to his side. Nikki agrees to the deal and decides to join Senku. Nikki tells Senku about Tsukasa's most capable allies, Hyoga and Yukio. She tells him Yukio is the greatest impediment to their plan because of his hearing abilities. Yukio was a sonar operator on a submarine before the Stone World with good hearing, which is why Tsukasa woke him up. Meanwhile, Chrome and Magma are still trying to find their way past Yukio, who is still after them. Chrome decides to sacrifice himself so Magma can return back to the village. Yukio captures him and takes him to Tsukasa. Chrome introduces himself as a science user of Ishigami Village to Tsukasa. Magma returns back to the village to inform the rest that Chrome has been captured. Senku decides they will all go to save Chrome. He begins to work on his next project, automobile, which will be used to carry all their science instruments. The rest of the villagers begin to take part in respective tasks and other to finish the automobile car. Back in Tsukasa's camp, in order to get Chrome to confess, Hyoga hangs him on the top of a cliff with his sword, but he didn't fret, which makes Hyoga throws him off, but Tsukasa saves him. You're wondering why Tsukasa saves Chrome, right? You will find out soon. Meanwhile, Tsukasa asks Yukio where he captured Chrome. He lies and tells him he saw Chrome scouting the Miracle Cave by himself. You are surprised Yukio lied, right? So is Chrome. At the village, Senku and the rest have been able to acquire a steam engine. Tsukasa throws Chrome inside a bamboo cage in an open place. Senku and the villagers have been able to acquire automobile. In the mood of excitement, Kaseki and Senku are sad because Chrome isn't with them to witness it. The elderly people in the village refuse to follow Senku and the villagers as they don't want to be a burden to them. They set out on their journey to Tsukasa's empire. Finally, they arrive at a cliff near the empire and set out camp there. Great detective Senku decides to make herself useful once again as she secretly enters Tsukasa's empire to look for Chrome. After searching for a while, she gets tired as she can't find where Chrome is locked up in. But Chrome is able to notice her because of her watermelon mask, and he screams out at the top of his voice so she can see where he is at. Seika returns back to the camp to tell Senku and others that she found out where Chrome is, but a lot of guards are guarding the prison. Senku tells the group that the plan is to charge inside the Empire with the automobile, but before that, they need to power it up and turn it into a tank. They are able to acquire paper, which they use in powering the automobile to a tank. Back at Tsukasa's empire, the guards are setting up vehicle traps as instructed by Tsukasa, which bothers Chrome as he finds a way to escape the prison. Tsukasa, sitting on his throne, is explaining to Yo, a new character, that he needs his strength and other to make sure Senku didn't use another weapon of science to rescue Chrome. Yo is a former cop before the Stone World. Tsukasa tells him he is certain Senku must have created a steam engine, so he needs him to guide the prison and also the traps in its vicinity. Chrome is out of ideas as he tries to find his way out of prison, but he suddenly came up with an idea. He needs to gather materials as he agrees with himself that he isn't as good as Senku. He tells the guards that he wants to pee, so a few of them escort him to the bush. He picks a lot of leaves and other materials on the way, and he starts to make fire with them back in the prison. His effort is futile, as he couldn't start a fire with the materials he got. He figures out a battery is what he needs to start a fire. In the night while sleeping, someone rolls a battery to him from outside the prison door, but he didn't know who and why. Who might that be? He was able to start a fire with a battery, but Yo didn't fall for the trick as he hits him from outside the prison. He decides that the only way to melt down the ropes is to use sodium hydroxide and electricity. But he doesn't have sodium hydroxide with him, so he decides to work himself out so much so he can release enough sweat to use his sodium hydroxide. He is able to melt down the ropes the next day and break out of prison. Yo chases after Chrome after finding out he escaped from prison. Chrome reaches a dead end, and his attempt to fight against Yo is in vain. Suddenly, he starts to vomit a lot of blood, telling Yo he has pneumonia disease, which he kept from the rest of the villagers. He deceives Yo into thinking it is a contagious disease and spits blood on him. Yo gets scared by this and tries to take cover, which opens up the opportunity for Chrome to escape. He's able to find his way to the village camp, and they are all delighted to see him again. Kahako notices the blood stain on his mouth as he starts to cough out more blood. She and the rest of the villagers thinks he has pneumonia, but he jokingly laughs and tells them that it isn't real blood, but a plant he chewed and other to find a way to escape. Chrome tells him someone gave him a battery while in prison and he didn't know who. Senku says it can't be Taiju or Yuzuriha as they are busy with their respective tasks. Chrome is surprised to see the tank they built in his absence. The next day, Nikki brings more people to Senku's fake grave so they can listen to Lillian's voice, but this time around, Yukio hears the voice from a long distance and decides to go to the grave. Nikki and Taiju are shocked. He immediately knows it is Jen imitating Lillian's voice. He tells them in English language that they should stop their act. But Jen tells Senku that Yukio speaks to them in English, which means he doesn't want the rest to hear. Senku immediately realizes that it was Yukio that gave Chrome the battery while in prison. Yukio tells him he isn't on their side yet as he needs to know what type of person Senku is. He explains to Senku that he discovered Yuzuria's secret mission, which is to assemble the remains of petrified rocks smashed by Tsukasa and fix them back. Yukio tells Senku he will join him only if he makes the war between him and Tsukasa a bloodless one. The next day, Hyoba and Tsukasa visit the grave site. Tsukasa noticed the cell phone buried under the ground and pulls it out. Meanwhile, Senku and his group are ready to launch their attack on the guards at the Miracle Cave with the automobile tank. Senku tells them that they have 20 seconds to attack and take control of the cave. Jen, who is controlling the automobile tank, shot at the guards and caused an explosion, which Tsukasa and Hyoga heard at the grave. Kohaku, Magma, and Jinro led the attack and are able to knock off their enemy's weapon. Just as they are about to charge towards the Miracle Cave, Jen and Senku crash the tank inside one of the trap pits. Magma launched an attack with Chrome with an acoustic weapon, an instrument that emits a large amount of noise. Nikki and the people that listen to Lillian's voice attack the rest of Tsukasa's army, trying to inform Tsukasa and Hyoga. They are able to complete the attack in just 20 seconds. Unfortunately for them, Hyoga and Tsukasa got to the place, and before Yukio could inform them, Tsukasa throws his spear at Senku, but Yukio is there just in time to save him at the expense of the gunpowder starter kit, which fell and broke. Tsukasa tells everyone that the chance of them winning is now zero now that he and Hyoga are around. Senku, Chrome, and Jen run towards the Miracle Cave while Hohaku and the rest attack Hyoga and Tsukasa. Tsukasa and Hyoga are able to shrug off the attacks, and within some minutes, the Kingdom of Science fighters are on the ground defeated. In the cave, Senku is struggling to create gunpowder as the kit he wanted to use fell down earlier. Luckily, Jem gave him a flying paper airplane just in time, which he uses to create dynamite. They arm themselves with paper dynamite while Yukito also points his dynamite arrows at them. Tsukasa tells Senku that if he shoots the dynamite at him, it will create a huge explosion and everyone will be in danger. Senku tells him that he is aware and he wants to negotiate. He tells Tsukasa that the reason he is doing all this is because of his sister. Senku tells him he is willing to heal his sister of her disease only if Tsukasa will accept a truce. Tsukasa is left with no choice but to agree to Senku's offer. He leads Senku and the rest to where the hospital his sister was admitted, and they dug out her petrified body. Just like how he did with Yuzuriha, Taiju didn't allow Senku to pour the revival fluid on Mirai's body because she is naked. Yuzuriha immediately knit cloth for her, and Senku pours the revival fluid on Mirai's body. Mirai came back to life and she is free from her petrified state. Everyone is surprised as they have never seen a body become unpetrified before. Tsukasa is glad to see his sister again. The next day, Hyuga tells Mirai to go and wash off at the nearby river. Chrome noticed that the dynamite explosives are missing. Yu-Gi-Oh says he didn't hear anyone stealing it, but there is someone who is capable of making movements undetected by his ears. An explosion is heard at the miracle cave, which makes the cave collapse. Senku is seen running from afar trying to warn Tsukasa and Mirai of Hyuga. Hyuga tries to stab Mirai, but Tsukasa got in the way. Hyuga then throws him off the river cliff, but Senku grabs his hand just in time. Hyuga then pushes both of them off the cliff, and he jumps down the cliff too. At the bottom of the cliff near the riverbed, Hyuga tells Senku that he wants him to join hands with him and become his tag team partner. Tsukasa is able to gather some strength, and he attacks Hyuga, but he isn't in perfect shape to stand against him. Both Tsukasa and Senku combine to fight against Hyuga, but it is futile. Senku eventually finds a way to electrify Hyuga as he is about to stab Tsukasa, and with that, he is able to defeat him. The elders in the village are happy to receive information that they won the battle without any bloodshed. Meanwhile, Hyuga and Homura are locked in prison. Homura is the person who assisted Hyuga to blow off the miracle cave. Senku performs surgery on Tsukasa, who was badly injured from the fight with Hyuga. Later that day, Tsukasa tells Senku that the surgery is just to buy time and that he knows he is going to die soon. Senku tells Tsukasa that the only way to save him is to petrify him. It is going to take a lot of time to get him petrified, so in the meantime, he is going to freeze him. Senku tells everyone they are building a refrigerator next. They are able to complete the development of the refrigerator in a few days. Senku eventually puts Tsukasa in the refrigerator, and they have some chat before he freezes. Senku then assembles everyone and tells them the next thing they need to do is cross to the other side of the world in order to find out the cause of the petrification that happened 3,700 years ago, but to accomplish that, they will need to build a ship first. Season 2 of Dr. Stone ends with the Kingdom of Science winning the war without any bloodshed and Senku deciding to find out the cause of the petrification that ruined humanity 3,700 years ago. Will he be able to succeed this time around? We will find that out in Season 3 of Dr. Stone.